Hey, good morning, my friends. Happy Thursday. I decided to do today's coffee chat for DG here in my office versus the car. It's nice and peaceful, it's quiet. I got my coffee. I'm all ready for the day. Took a shower, all ready to rock and roll. Hi, Lynn. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So my name is Donna Rudowitz, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker and rapid transformational relationship coach. And I help women reclaim their brilliance, become their own soulmate first, and they could go on to create amazing, brilliant lives, be the role models for the family, show their family what's possible, even though divorce or relationship breakup has occurred, that it's just it's a challenge, and we could get through it, and we could get through it even better on the other side. So that's kind of who I am. And for today's coffee chat, that's exactly what I wanted to talk about with you guys, is stepping in and owning your power. I was listening to Joel Osteen, and I'm pretty sure I know a lot. I know you may listen to Joel Osteen or know of him. Excuse me. And one of the things that he was talking about this morning was, who told you that you can't have X, Y, and Z? Who told you that ABC isn't possible? And in my Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond 12-week rapid transformational coaching program, that's one of the core pieces of what we talk about. And that's one of the core pieces that we address, is challenging the beliefs that we've been given, that have been handed down to us, and then creating the beliefs that we want to create. You know, when you've been through a divorce, a separation, through heartache, the one piece of our body that's hurt the most is our heart. And if you think about it, the heart is the core center of everything. It's where the divine rests and resides. It's what pumps blood and air and nutrients throughout our entire biological system, our physiological system. So studies have shown us that when our heart is hurting, or the rest of our body is hurting, and I don't know if you have seen the movie The Notebook, probably one of my favorite movies that I've ever seen. And every time I see it, I could see it 1,000 times and I could cry every single time. They were connected. That couple was connected at the heart. And studies have now shown us too that when our heart is not coherent, our world outside of us is not going to be coherent. There's going to be struggle and there's going to be stress. So what I wanted to bring to the table this morning in today's coffee chat is to have you think about who you really are, not as a wife, an ex-wife, as a mom, as a sister, as a cousin, as a friend, but thinking about your divine essence, right? If you think about, we've all been labeled with a name, we all have a name, we all have, again, a title, Mrs. So-and-so or Miss so-and-so, or so-and-so's wife, or ex-wife, right? There's titles that go down the line. But those titles are given to us through our journey here as a human being. But it doesn't mean that's who we are. It's just who our spirit is experiencing during this thing that we call life, right? We're not human beings having a spiritual experience. We're spiritual beings having a human experience. So I understand the struggles. I do. I remember being in my space. I was 7 years when I got divorced. It was 7 years I was alone. And those 7 years I experienced, I made poor decisions. I was in not necessarily the best of relationships, because what I was doing is I was just attracting my ex-husband 10 times over. I thought I was through it. I thought that I was healed. I thought I was ready to go to the next level, but I really wasn't doing the inner work. I was doing the work up here, but that's only 5% of how we operate. 95% how we operate is in our subconscious. And 95% of how we operate in our subconscious is what creates a reality. And that's what when I talk about our beacon of energy, that's what's being put out into the world. So if we're not clear and our heart isn't coherent and our heart and our soul fracture have not been healed, and we haven't become our own soulmate first, we're just going to attract in our attractor field more people that are based upon our lowest level of vibrational frequency. So let me give you an example. If, let's say, you're operating in guilt, for whatever reason, there's guilt that's going on, you're going to attract someone who wants to operate in guilt. You're going to attract someone who again, this is all subconscious, this is not conscious, but you're going to attract a person who that's what they're going to do. That's going to be their manipulation tool, is inflicting guilt. So the only way we're going to move through this in a way that I would say is healthy, sustainable, and consistent, that we could depend upon, is when we become our own soulmate first, is when we decide what this game of life looks like, when we decide the rules of how we're going to play this game. You know, I was speaking to someone last night, and we had the conversation about dating, and she said she was going out to date, and she was kind of wondering what the guys want. You know, what do they want? Do they just want sex? Do they want friendship? Do they want relationships? Do they just want maybe a connection, a one-time thing? And I kind of just sat back and I asked her the question. I said, what would happen if it wasn't about what the guys wanted, but you had the power and you had the confidence and you had the self-worth to turn around the table and put out there to the universe and to the world what you want, right? Not backing into what someone else wants, but instead having yourself, having you define what it is you want, and then having people meet that. You know, there's a saying that says that there's a level of respect, and you have to respect yourself enough. You have to teach people how to respect you by you respecting yourself. Because if you're not respecting yourself, then other people aren't going to follow suit, and they're going to cross boundaries because you're not doing the work yourself. So when it comes time to creating this and healing your soul fracture and stepping out into this world and creating this miraculous life, because what we do in Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond, yes, we come together to heal our soul fracture. But what ends up happening is we heal everything in our lives. Our income and our finances increase. Our friendship increases. Our level of joy increases. Our level of peace increases. Our spirituality increases. The way we learn how to manifest and we show up for life completely increases and transforms. So this is about you taking a seat at the rightful table of this thing that's called life. And instead of being reactionary to the things that are happening to you, is turning it around and becoming responsive, right? Not reactionary, but responsive to life. And you turning the tables to tell life what it is you want. Because this is co-creation. Just because we have a thought doesn't mean we need to think it. And just because we have a thought doesn't mean it's true. I like to say feelings are just feelings. They're not facts. Feelings are not facts. And we've been so conditioned that just to kind of take any information that we've been given and take it as true, even our own, right? Even from our families or even our own. And now it's time, if you're in your 40s, if you're in your 50s, 60s, 70s, it's time to take back your power of life, and don't just take what other people tell you to do as true. Don't even take your own thoughts as true. Take some time to sit back and challenge those thoughts. Right? And think about taking your rightful seat at the table and not letting your mind control the body, but rather letting your body control the mind, rather let the mind control the body. Right? If we let our emotions take a hold of how we're running our days and how we're showing up in our days, we're never going to know, and we can never depend on any consistency, because our emotions are fickle. Our emotions go up and down. Hi, Bonnie. Good morning. But when we have a declaration, and when we claim what it is we say and what we want, like for me, I wake up and I claim I am having, my day is bright. I am operating in joy. I am operating in peace in spite of my circumstances. Doesn't mean that I'm not going to have challenges. It doesn't mean that I'm not going to have obstacles come my way. It doesn't mean that things are always going to be peaches and cream with me. But what it means is, even through the challenge and even through the obstacle, I have my identity of being happy and being grounded. I'm not based upon what the world is telling me to do. I have decided how I'm showing up. I have decided how I'm going to be showing up for the world. And I'm walking in this world with an essence of reverence. I am not the world's victim or the world's, excuse my language. I like you guys, when I say this, please excuse me if any offense to language. But you're not a victim, you're not a victim to effect, you're a master of cause, right? Or a bitch to effect or a master of cause. I am no one's victim, not the world's, no more. Right? My path of my divorce, my path of my broken heart, my path of the tears. Yes, I experienced all of that. And when I realized that, wait a minute, I could just turn the table and my emotions don't have to be controlling me. I could be controlling them. And I get to decide what's working for me and what's not. And I get to decide how I show up in the world. I get to decide my day. I get to claim what it is. This is when things change. But how often do we do that? If you think about how often do you sit down and really think about how you're going to show up in your life? What is important to you? Are you walking with reverence? Are you walking with your shoulders back, head up high? Are you walking with hope? Are you walking with joy? Are you walking with peace? And I could tell you, if you haven't healed your soul fracture and you haven't done the work on yourself, you're probably not. You're likely not. And it's not right or wrong, bad or good. It just is. And when we reach a certain level of our life and reach a certain point as a woman in this world, there's no more blame and there's no more victimhood. You know, the blame stops. And what happens is you enter into a sense of personal accountability and personal responsibility where you say, my life may not have been what I wanted it to be. And I didn't get married to become divorced. And even though I was hurt and even though I experienced X, Y, and Z, that the buck stops here and that today I am going to take accountability and responsibility for my life because I have two choices. I could continue to romance my past, which I'll create more of that, or I could romance my future. And I can learn how to move through where I'm stuck, right? Move through where you're stuck and move into the future that you know is in your heart. Because if you have a desire in your heart to be with another person, to have another person hold you and love you, and even yourself, right? Is that holding and the loving and the space for yourself, that means that there's another person out there in this world that has the same vibrational frequency who wants to meet you too. And who says you can't have it? And who says it has to be hard? And who says it has to be grueling? And who says it has to be difficult and you've got to go through all of these bad dates and possibly get scammed and catfished and, right? Because this is what the world says. The world says, oh my God, you're going to get scammed. You're going to get catfished. This is going to happen. It's so bad. It's so grueling. There's no good guys out there, right? And you could choose to buy that story. Or there's another option that's available to you, and that is that you could attract your mate with ease, that you could take accountability and responsibility for your life right now and begin to do the things to heal that soul fracture, to become your own soulmate first, to put dating on the table and then put the energy and effort into yourself and know that you could attract your soulmate with ease. And it could be fun and it doesn't have to be difficult and it doesn't have to take 12 years, 15 years, 20 years, right? We don't have to buy what the world is feeding you. This is such a critical point that I really want you to get. Is just because the world is saying something, it doesn't mean it's true. And we don't have to buy it. We don't have to buy a ticket to this circus, right? And this is the part where we come in this reverence and this strength and this ownership of our life to say, holy shit, I've been buying tickets to a circus that I don't want to go to. And Lynn, absolutely. Becoming unstuck is one of the challenges that we face, but this is what I want to offer you. If we say it's so hard to become unstuck and I don't know if I could do it, what you're doing is you're coding your brain and you're putting in a sense of that it's not possible for you. And I'm not saying that becoming unstuck isn't or is a breeze, okay? But what I am saying is when we change our language and we say that I am stuck, and I'm definitely not where I want to be. I'm certainly not where I was yesterday, but I am stuck. And instead of making that my identity, that's not my identity. It's just something I'm experiencing, that I am a woman of love, that I am a woman of power, that I am a woman of reverence, that I am a woman of strength, that I can get through anything, that every day I get better and better. Every day I learn more and more. Every moment I'm opening myself up to God's grace, to the universe, to source, to guide me, to lead me. And yes, even though I feel stuck, because again, it's a feeling, you could create a new reality for yourself and say that as of today, I become unstuck. As of today, all the resources that I have or all the resources that I need are coming towards me. Every little piece that I need is going to come to me like a perfectly orchestrated symphony. You see, here's what happens. And I'm sure you could attest to this, because not only you probably have experienced it, but you probably have experienced it in friends and family, is that people will say, I want help in XYZ, or I'm praying for this, right? This is what we hear a lot. I'm praying for this. I want help here. The help arrives and then they don't take it. Because what happens is their heart and their soul is leading them. That's the beacon that's going out there that's saying, I really need assistance. Your angels and God and the universe is going to rally towards you, because the universe loves you so much and God loves you so much. It only wants good for you, right? Everything that happens to us is not happening against us. It's happening for us. So the universe is going to rally and bring you all of these resources. And then when the resources come, because we haven't been accustomed to receiving, because we haven't been accustomed to trusting and opening our heart, because we're still constricted in a soul fracture, when all that receiving comes, it's going to be too good to be true, and you're going to start going into fear, you're going to go in doubt, you're going to go in constriction. So that's why when we're stuck, it becomes this cycle of stuckness, because we just don't get out of it. We realize we want to get out of it. We ask for help. Help comes. We negate the help, and then we feel even worse than we did before, because now we feel we're even more stuck because the help came, and then we're feeling now there's no hope, right? And again, it goes to the cycle. So this is where we've got to draw the line in the sand and understand and be able to say, not wrong or right, bad or good, but be able to say to ourselves, this is not where I want to be anymore. That where I'm right now is not my life. Where I am right now is not where I know my soul and my purpose is. And I'm willing to do the work, right? And this is the reason why there's a small percentage of people who will truly transcend the stuckness and step into the life that's truly possible. Not just a good life, but an exceptional life, right? They say that if you're born into a certain level of class, right? So lower class, middle class, upper class, high net worth, super high net worth, that it's very rare for a person throughout their whole lifetime to break through that class, that they end up pretty much staying their whole life in whatever that class is. And it's the same thing when we've been through a divorce or we've been through a breakup, is that our heart is so hurt that our brain says we want to do something different, but our subconscious is so programmed and so protected to keep us where we are, which is, again, feeling stuck, that we end up staying that way for life sometimes. And this is why when I get in conversations with people, I think I shared this with you guys before, that sometimes I'll get in a conversation with someone and it will be heated. Like I will feel her pain and I will feel where she's at. And I'll say to her, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, how long ago was your divorce? Thinking it was yesterday. And she tells me it was 20 years ago. That's because your body never forgets until you train it differently, right? A memory and an emotion and the hurt, our body will never forget it. There's things that's called cellular memories. And I won't get into the science here, but essentially your body stores the memory of the pain. So even though it could be 5, 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 years later, if you get triggered, that pain will come up just as if you were experiencing it in that moment of when it happened, when it originated. So if we don't go in and clear those subconscious thoughts, patterns, behaviors, if we don't go in and challenge the beliefs that you have, if we don't go in and say, wait a minute, who told me this story? Do I need to buy this? Do I really want to buy a ticket to the circus? If we just don't slow our roll a little bit and take account for who we are and what we want in life, well, it's just going to go. It's just going to be on autopilot. And I know you know what I'm talking about, because you could wake up a year, 2, 3, 4, 5 years later and say, oh my God, where did the time go? Like, seriously, my daughter, Rebecca, is graduating from college. She's rather high school this year. I don't know when she started high school. 4 years of high school went by like that. I feel like I woke up yesterday. She was starting high school. I can't believe it's today and she's graduating high school. And that's how fast time goes. It's because what we're doing is we're waking up and just doing more of the same until you don't. And this is your invitation, guys, for today's coffee chat, is don't wake up and do all of the same. Challenge your thoughts. Challenge what's coming across your plate. And if you know there's a person in your heart for you to find, and all your friends are saying, just get out there and date, and or if you're hearing horror stories, stop hanging out with those people. I can't say this strong enough. And I'm not saying you have to call them and say, listen, I'm not going to be friends with you, or just, but stop hanging around with people who keep you stuck to your past, right? Because it's addictive. It's addictive to talk about the pain. It's addictive to talk about how you're stuck. It's addictive to talk about your ex. It's addictive to talk about what we've done and what we could have done different. And again, I get it. I was there. I was 7 years in that cycle. So I understand completely. The difference of my life where I shifted and where I went into attracting Michael, who was my husband, who was my soulmate, who was an amazing stepfather to my girls, and stepping into the job and this role that I absolutely love, and all pieces of my life, right? Removing debt, stepping into spirituality, stepping into abundance, stepping into warm and lovely friendships. All of those pieces shifted when I decided that I no longer was going to be tied to the past, and that was my identity. My identity, you've got to step into your new identity and begin to challenge the past patterns, behaviors, and thoughts, as difficult as it is. And this is not meant to criticize you. You're not measuring yourself of if I'm good, if I'm bad, if I'm right or I'm wrong. What you're doing is you're just looking, is how is this serving me? But begin to look at things differently. Begin to give yourself the option that if you know that there's this life inside of you that you're ready to live, then begin to allow yourself to step into it. And even though everybody else around you may be giving you messages, challenge those messages. I'm not saying you have to reject them immediately, but what I am saying is just take time to think about it. Take time to listen to them and take time to say, is those messages something that align with me? Do I know that to be true? And Lynn, you were saying here, everything that I'm saying makes such perfect sense. Where do I start to remove all this toxic overthinking that happens in our heads? So true. It's time for me to get empowered and love life again. Lynn, I am so happy that you said that. And how we remove the toxic thinking in our heads begins, number one, with the decision that we're ready to do it. Right? Because that's the number one thing that we have to say, is that I'm taking accountability and responsibility today, that this I'm aware of this negative thinking. I am not the negative thinking. I am aware of the negative thinking. And then it comes through habits, it comes through tools, it comes through resources. So like for me, I'm just going to say what I know and what I do in my Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond 12-week program is this is all we do. We begin by becoming aware of an environment, becoming aware of how our thoughts are, of what thoughts are serving us, what thoughts aren't serving us. And then over the course of 12 weeks, there's materials and tools and resources that I use to help that thinking, right? To help you become unstuck. So if my message resonates with you and you're interested in learning more about the Divorcing Gracefully and Beyond coaching program, I'd invite you to book a free breakthrough call with me. However, if my message doesn't resonate with you, but you're ready to kind of do some self-work, my suggestion for you would begin to quiet your brain. And I always go to a meditation. So on my phone, I have something that's called Insight Timer, and it's an app that you can get. It's free from the App Store. And begin to quiet your brain, because this toxic thinking, we can't move through our toxic thinking if our brain is busy, if we're thinking about the problem, right? If we're trying to think about the problem and how to solve the problem, then we're not going to be able to do it. I think Einstein says we can't use the same thinking to solve the problem that got us into the problem in the first place. And what I know to be true in a combination of quantum physics, in science, in spirituality, in cognitive behavioral therapy, right? All of those pieces. Change doesn't happen when we're thinking about it and doing it. Change happens when our brain is essentially quiet and we're in a creative state and we're tapping into the divine. That's when we can change matter. That's when we have the ability to change matter. So if we have busy minds, we're not going to be able to change anything because we're anchored into consciousness. We're going to anchor into subconsciousness. So that's what I would recommend for you to do is to experience and begin to bring in quiet times of meditation. And that could be done through the Insight Timer app, through spending time outside. But as you begin to quiet your brain, you're going to hear that guide in your heart. You're going to hear that direction of what your next step is and tuning into that. And what I will say, Lynn, is that again, whether it's me or someone else, because it doesn't have to be me, but I think it is critically important that as we're stepping into this new level, is to work with a coach, to work with someone who can help you through. Because I know I look back on my own journey and the struggles that I was facing, years, 10 years in struggle didn't have to be there because I was trying to do it on my own. I considered myself to be an intelligent person. I was reading the books. I was even going to therapy. I was doing everything. But the thing I wasn't doing was changing and tapping into my subconscious and healing that soul fracture. And once I began to do that, that's where the shift happens. And I remember the first call with my coach. I was terrified. I couldn't believe it. I knew I needed to do something. I had $0. I literally, the week before, had broke open my daughter's piggy bank to get money out for milk because all my money was tied up. That's how bad it was at that time. But I knew I couldn't live another day like that. I knew that there was something in my heart and I had to have the faith. And I kept, I just knew God was leading me in the right direction. And I had to have the faith that I needed help. And so when I got on the phone with my coach and she told me the price, and I think at the time it was something like $9,000 or $10,000. This is 15, 20 years ago. And again, let me remind you, I just broke open my daughter's piggy bank the day before to buy milk because my money was tied up, but I had a credit card and I decided that it was 0%. And I'm pretty good with money. And I said, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go 18 months. I'm going to divide it over 18 months at 0%. And at the end of the 18 months, if I still have a balance, I'll just get another 0% and do it, because I knew the work. I knew I needed to do the work. And Lynn, exactly, right? Trying to do it on your own, it's not going to work. It's not going to work when we do it on our own. And the last thing that we want to do is we want to go to our family and friends. Now, again, our family and friends are wonderful. They're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And they're great for certain things. But if we're going to be moving through to this next version of ourselves, we want to work with an expert who's going to help us how to create this new identity, an expert who's going to teach us how to heal our soul fracture, an expert who's going to show us how to become our own soulmate, right? Because if you go to Aunt Mary, your cousin Sue, Billy, and all of these different people, and you talk to 5 different people, you're going to get 5 different pieces of advice. And so that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to be doing advice. We want to be stepping into working with people who we know we could trust. So anyway, bye, Lynn. Have a great rest of the day. I am off myself. I hope you guys have a great rest of the day. Have a kick-ass day. Thank you for joining me for coffee chat this morning in my office with my Java, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.